The EY Experience Podcast.
Hello, my name is Peter Doyle. I'm the People Lead for Consulting at EY, and welcome to the second episode in the EY Experience Podcast. From career growth to our innovation culture, this podcast series will let you at first hand see, our people and the experiences that you'll have at EY. In today's podcast, we are joined by some of our CFO Advisory colleagues. So a big welcome to Danny, Niamh, Doreen and Ailbhe, and thank you very much. In the episode, we really want to let the listeners know what CFO Advisory is, what you do, and for the listeners to grow and understand how they can have a career in CFO Advisory. I suppose the best thing to do is to start off by just having a quick introduction of who's on the call today about your role, your experience in EY, when you joined EY. Danny, we'll start with you first.
Hi, Peter. Thanks very much for the intro. So I've been with EY since the beginning of 2019. I'm a partner in CFO Advisory. Prior to that, I worked with Bank of Ireland for 6 years in various senior finance roles. Prior to that, I worked for the Department of Finance in the NTMA, and then prior to that, I worked with another big four firm. So I've been in practice, out of practice, and then back into practice, and I'm very happy to be back in this role. So super excited, really focused on what the agenda of the CFO is and how we can support our clients in trying to deliver on that wide, varied, and growing agenda.
And Ailbhe, what about yourself?
I'm an assistant manager on the team, and I joined EY in February 2020 after training in the audit department of another Big Four firm.
And Doreen?
Yeah, I joined EY through the London office actually in February 2019, so nearly 2 years ago now. And I moved over to Dublin last summer.
And Niamh?
I've been with EY just over 9 years now, having joined as a graduate back in 2011. I actually joined the FAS team from EY Sydney, so I moved over to the EY Sydney office for a secondment, which turned out being a year, and I wanted to do something different, having trained in audit. I thought the CFO Advisory was something that would complement my skills in audit, from audit, so it made sense as a move, and I moved back to the Dublin CFO Advisory team. So I've been with the team for just over 2.5 years now.
Ailbhe, what kind of attracted you to EY and CFO Advisory?
The thing that attracted me to CFO Advisory is that its offering is unique. So when I came out of contract, I kind of had my eye on joining consulting, but I didn't necessarily want to leave all the accounting knowledge and experience that I had gained in the last 4 years behind. And the thing that really attracted me to CFO Advisory is that it's a perfect blend of both, and that you can do both day to day. And that was really exciting for me. And
what about yourself, Danny?
Yeah, it was very much building on that experience I would have had. It was also the people that I met. So clearly, as I joined, I interviewed a number of times, and it was the people I met in terms of the how prepared they were to sort of look at our business case or the business case we had and back that business case. A real sort of sense of entrepreneurship and wanting to sort of take the opportunity that was there in the market. But then similarly, how they wanted to try and use innovation to try and deliver on that change through using sort of new skills, tools to try and deliver change for clients in a more efficient way. I'd probably say that the last piece, which is definitely a unique point in relation to EY, is our access to the European network, where if there's a client problem, we can try and solve it ourselves, but equally we can go and look at the European network and find somewhere else where the problem's been dealt with before. So we can actually bring a much quicker solution to clients because we're able to leverage that work that's already been done. So all of those really impressed me about EY and really helped me take the decision, and everything I've seen since I joined has affirmed that it was the right decision.
Niamh, you decided to come back from Sydney. What was it that made you decide to come back to Ireland, and were you in CFO Advisory before you left Sydney?
Yeah, so I moved to EY Sydney to get some, cross-border kind of experience, and it was the first time I had joined the CFO Advisory team. When I was moving abroad, I decided to, completely change things and kind of move out of my comfort zone. So I said, why not try something different outside of audit? And as I said, the CFO Advisory is something that I thought would complement the skills I'd already developed through my audit background. When my decision to move back to Ireland was purely personal. And prior to me leaving, the CFO Advisory for the FS department hadn't been established. So I was delighted to come back to the news to hear that Danny had actually established it and to be part of that team.
And Doreen, how are you settling back to life in Dublin after being in the fast life pace of London?
Yeah, it's great. It's pretty fast over here as well, to be fair. But I suppose it's just been great. It's been fantastic. When I started out in the London office, I went for some training in Amsterdam, but not as glamorous as it sounds. It was a little bit outside Amsterdam. And saw mentioned that Danny was opening up a similar office in Dublin through EY as well. And that just sealed the deal for me. I was already looking for a move home, and the fact that I was able to move home with EY was just fantastic.
And Doreen, what's your typical day in a CFO advisory position like?
Yeah, well, there is no typical day, I suppose, is the answer to that, really. And I think everyone who works with us would agree to that. I tend to work on large change and transformation programs. So every day brings a different problem to be solved. And it brings clients who are anxious or worried about change and teams that work alongside them as well. So what our role every day is coming in and making sure that we're on track of bigger deliverables that we're trying to achieve, and also just heading off with the past, the smaller problems that occur as we go along. So it's very much an agile, quick response environment. And that leads to there being no typical day at all, but that's the excitement.
And what about yourself, Ailbhe? What's a typical day for you like in CFO?
I'd agree with Doreen. There is no typical day, and that for me is one of the most interesting aspects of the team. You might start your day thinking you'll be doing one thing, and then you could be added to a meeting to help with a really exciting project that the team has just won. And it's that variety that keeps it really interesting and keeps you really engaged.
And what kind of clients are you working with on a day-to-day basis?
So at the moment, I'm working on the Ailbhe transition program for an Irish bank. But since I've joined EY, the range of clients that I worked on have been really diverse, and they've included aircraft lessors, other banks, insurance firms, and asset managers. So there's a little bit of everything, which is really great.
I suppose, Danny, I'm sure your profile's a bit bigger from a client perspective, but like, where do you see the big pockets yourself that you're busy most days?
Yeah, I mean, just go back to the points that Doreen and Ailbhe made. Like, what we do, it could be quite a variety from day to day, but it's also a variety from job to job. So each job could be different. It could be accounting change, it could be regulatory change, it can be finance transformation, which is something we see as a major growth area as we look forward. So it's really trying to turn our hand on a day-to-day basis as you deliver and make sure you deliver to the right level. But then it's also, as you look into each of the different jobs, to be able to be agile, as Doreen said, and actually take on the new jobs, new challenges that clients have and deliver on those. In terms to your question, in terms of the clients we deal with a lot of the retail banks here in Dublin, but also some of the international banks down in the IFSC and around. And then, as Ailbhe was saying, aircraft lessors are clients too. So we've been doing quite a good deal of work with those over the last 12 months, in particular with Niamh, and we see good opportunity there as we look forward.
And Niamh, what do you enjoy most about what you do?
I suppose I love, what we do, kind of to echo what everyone else has said. What we do is very kind of solution orientated. So no two clients will come to you with the same problem. So, it's very different, but it's the collaborative nature, I think, of what we do, and being able to see and help clients is probably what I enjoy most. As Danny kind of said, I focus on aircraft leasing, and that's an industry which I'm really passionate about. Of course, Ireland is a hub for aircraft leasing and for lessors, but that said, I've clients all over the world, in the US, in the UAE, in Asia, and it's really great to kind of work with such a diverse group of people and get different perspectives.
And Ailbhe, what do you enjoy most about what you do?
As we previously said, the variety on the team is great. I think it's the fact that you're exposed to so many different aspects of the CFO's agenda. You're getting a little bit of everything. So your experience base becomes really broad, which I think is invaluable experience.
And then, not to put much pressure on you, because obviously your boss is on the call, but what is the culture of the team like?
I think the culture is great. I don't think you could find a better team, to be honest. We have a very open, supportive, collaborative culture. Everybody works together. Everybody's always there to help or support where you need it. So it's great.
And Doreen, what about you? What is it you like, most about the culture of the team?
I'd say it's probably that it's very entrepreneurial, and that's a word I wouldn't have associated with the team when I first joined, as that's not what I was expecting it to be at all. But I think what it feels like day to day, and even week to week and more, it's that it feels like we're working in a startup. It's very much, Danny has opened the floor to being very collaborative, figuring out how we want to drive the business as a team, what kind of opportunities we see with driving change with our clients, how to stay on top of their agendas and so forth, and very much in that grassroots phase of business development from the bottom up. So yeah, very, very much entrepreneurial.
And Danny, I'm loving the way Niamh's just nodding the whole way through that. But Danny, I'm as much as you're probably paying them a lot of money to say this, how proud does it make you feel just to hear those sorts of things?
Well, it's great. I mean, we've started off from scratch at the beginning of 2019. We're trying to build the team. It's still more building to do, but we do spend a lot of time working together, and because we're a small team, we all got to know each other quite quickly, which is really good and helps us sort of raise problems quickly as we need help, and to sort of make contact with one another quite quickly. We have weekly team meetings, so we're and that might sound like an obvious thing to do, but it's really so everyone in the team hears what's going on with everyone else on the team, and so we have a good idea of the problems people are facing and how we might address them or how we might help in dealing with them. So I'm very happy that everyone's sort of enjoying the culture, and I think it's great, and I think the more we work together, the better we are and the stronger we are.
And actually, Danny, it sounds like your team's been in existence for probably half its time in a non-COVID world and half the time in a COVID world.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've done specifically to help that during kind of this remote working?
I think the key thing initially was sort of, we went to having 2 meetings per week, just where we do a video call twice a week, was just trying to elevate things. We did all the obvious things. I'm sure Doreen will start laughing around having quizzes and all of these things every couple of Fridays. However, I think there's been a little bit of burnout on the quiz front, so we're going to we put those in the back burner for a while. But it's been about continual communication, and while we have team meetings, we also try and get on the phone with each other frequently, so no one's left sort of where they might get isolated in any shape or form. It can get quite easy to get isolated whenever you're working in this environment, so it's just making those extra efforts to get to know where people are and make sure no one is feeling a pressure that isn't being shared. So that's the key for me that we've been doing differently, and I think that's probably something as we come out of COVID that we'll find is a strength, because we'll have really maximized our relationships with all of the team as we go into the new jobs in the new world.
And I guess staying with yourself, Danny, and I'll probably ask this question to all of you. What's your number one takeaway from 2020, and how are you planning to use it in your career going forward for good or bad?
Yeah, like for me, it's going to be communication, and actually the need for better communication. It's very easy to get wrapped up with and too busy to not be in constant communication with the team, and it's just taking that time out. You'll do much better with your team, and you'll do much better with your clients whenever you're communicating more openly. And it is easy to get on the phone to a client for 15 minutes. It's easy to get on to your teammates for 15 minutes. So just doing that and keeping that communication in a more continual, it doesn't need to be, it's sort of little and often is a better approach than having to, have that one monthly call with the client. It's just keeping topped up on how they are and what's going on with them. So that's be a key learning for me.
And yourself, Niamh?
Yeah, I suppose there probably aren't too many positives to take away from 2020, unfortunately. I'd say from an aviation finance perspective, there's been nothing but kind of growth for the last 10 years in the industry, and this year has brought unprecedented challenges. So kind of navigating through those different challenges with our clients has made for a very interesting year. But I suppose a big part of our role, we're very client facing. So for us, it's all about meeting clients face to face. So a takeaway for me this year is probably how to develop those relationships remotely. So I suppose our technology has facilitated that, but it's no longer about getting on a flight to attend a meeting. It's kind of dialing in and turning on your camera and kind of building the relationship that way. So that's probably been a key takeaway for me.
And Doreen, what about yourself?
I think I'd have 2 key takeaways, and both pretty positive. I think the first is just that sense of community this year. I really felt that even in EY and on the client side that we've all been in it together. We've all faced the challenges that COVID and remote working has brought, and anytime we kind of found a solution to something within EY, whether it be around technology or meeting more or how to communicate better, we just straight away brought that onto our client sites as well. And just having that feeling that whatever issues or angst that they were experiencing, we were experiencing at the same time. So just keeping the communication lines open, not just internally, but with the client as well, is just hugely important. And I think we'll never go back to the way that we worked before again. It's just, it is quite easy, much easier than we think, to just pick up the phone to somebody, whether they're a teammate or a more senior stakeholder, and just, ask the questions that need to be asked and move forward with solutions. And then the second one for me is that I actually got promoted to senior manager this year, midway through the pandemic. And I remember having a conversation with Danny earlier in the year saying, this is this is possibly not going to happen this year with everything else that's going on. But Danny said, absolutely not. We're going to press on with it and build your case and keep going as we would have done normally. And that was great. It was a great experience and great to have that support, that no matter what else was going on in the world around us, I still had my own personal achievements to go for.
And Ailbhe, what about you?
I think this year has really reinforced the importance of flexibility for me and being able to adapt to changing work environments. For example, the project that I'm on at the moment, I've never actually met any of the client staff in person, and it's just developing that ability to build those relationships via the phone, via Skype or Teams, and just be able to work in a world that is very different than what we expected it would be.
And Ailbhe, how have you learned and grown to stay on top of things in your role, especially in this environment?
I think a key source of learning for me has been learning from other people on the team. We have such different areas of expertise and experience that people are always willing to share those with you and help you learn and grow and develop in whatever area it is that you want to develop in. I think EY also has great resources in terms of badges that you might be able to do, kind of data analytics or something like that you didn't think you'd previously be able to do, that would really help you grow in your role.
And is there anything that you've done since joining EY in relation to that kind of training, badges or anything like that?
I'm in the process of pursuing a badge in data analytics, so hopefully I'll get that over the line pretty soon. But there's so many opportunities in EY. Anything is available if you put your hand up and say you want to do it. So since I've joined, I've delivered training, and I'm also part of a team that develops a newsletter that summarizes kind of general finance and banking news. So we then distribute to the wider team to help them keep informed. So there's so many opportunities available within the firm.
And Danny, as a partner, how about yourself? What have you learned, or what have you gotten further development from since you've joined EY?
Well, there's probably a couple of things. First of all, I'd just like to say congratulations to Ailbhe, who's getting promoted to manager from the 1st of January. So it's just coming up soon. So well done to Ailbhe. So she joined us at the beginning of 2020. So it's really good to be able to pull her through as well and to manage, doing a great job. Secondly, just in terms of what I've learned since I joined, I guess the key for me is actually getting to know people across the European network so that I can actually bring that to bear with clients, and getting quickly to know who the right people are around Europe so that I can get their help, get their support, and build relationships with them. And that's a two-way street. You can't always be asking. You need to be able to bring them support whenever they need help as well. So it's really trying to build those relationships quite quickly so that whenever I do have a problem, I've got capital with these other colleagues and network across Europe so that we can bring that to our own clients.
Danny, I'm quite curious just to ask a quick question there. Like two people on your team, which is fabulous to see, got promoted during the pandemic. How is this possible?
It's all about business case, and it's, if we have the opportunity and if the people are delivering where we need them to deliver, then we're going to pull them through, because it's a meritocracy, right? If we've got good people and we've got something there that we can deliver on, then we will promote. And both Doreen and Ailbhe very clearly have the capabilities, and then the business case was there too. So for me, it was a no-brainer. That the challenges around us are there, but we do have good people and we do have good opportunity. Therefore, we should press on.
Thanks, Danny. Niamh, why would now be a good time to join CFO?
Yeah, so as we've kind of said, there's a massive opportunity within our team for growth. So, for anyone who kind of wants to try something a bit different, who likes the sound of, working collaboratively with clients and taking being a real problem solver, I think it's something that would really suit you. But also it's a really exciting time to join because as we said, we're a growing team. We're very ambitious and the future is really exciting.
And Doreen, what about you? Why do you think now is a good time to join CFO?
I think now is a great time to join because of all of the work that's going to be coming down the pipeline in the next few years around these massive change and transformation programs that we're going to see with some of the domestic and international banks. So there's going to be lots going on, and we're going to be looking for qualities where people have those kind of generalist abilities. So you may think that perhaps you're not the right fit for CFO, or that you don't have the profile that we're looking for, but actually, as we quite often find when we're interviewing candidates to join, they do, and it's our job to ask the questions that draw that out as well. So there's lots of opportunities for generalists out there who can apply those problem-solving capabilities.
I think just sitting here as a neutral, I think that you're a very modest team. And I think that like the strongest quality you have that you didn't touch on is you are actually just, and this sounds a terrible thing to say, but you're lovely people. To have to say it sounds a terrible thing to say, but you're very engaging and you're very kind people. And like that goes a huge amount to, I think you need to take it for granted as a team. Certainly something I would look at if I ever decided to leave consulting after 18 years and go to another team. I might come to CFO looking for a job where I might be embraced as who I am. Look, this is the probably final question I'll have for today, and I suppose I want to ask it to Ailbhe and Danny because they're two people who came from outside. What advice would you give to anyone considering a career in CFO at EY? And I'll take you first, Ailbhe, on that one.
I would say that joining the team is a great next step in your career. It provides so many opportunities for both professional and personal growth, and the experience that you gain on the team will be varied, broad, and always interesting. So I'd recommend it.
And Danny?
Yeah, for me, it's the development you get of working closely with senior clients outside of audit, and you really are beginning to see what really the issues are on a CFO agenda. You begin to realize that things aren't always black and white. It's not always follow an accounting standard and see what the answer is. It's actually much broader than that, and there are times when it's grey and you need to find the arguments one way or another to try and find the right answer. So it's about that trying to problem solving, as has been mentioned before, but also being able to turn your mind in an agile way to something which is different from week to week, from month to month, from job to job, and from day to day, as Doreen and Ailbhe said. So it's all of that mental sort of gymnastics that you need to go through to sort of deal with the problems.
Is there anything anyone else on the call would just like to share with us today before we wrap up?
Yeah, I suppose probably something we haven't touched on is kind of the finance transformation agenda and how key innovation is to our team as we go forward. Innovation is kind of a buzzword that's kind of branded around a lot, but here in EY, it really genuinely is something that we embrace. We have an innovation team who is there to actually support us. So while one of us might have an idea on how to, automate or improve something, we might not know how to actually see that through. So, being able to sit down with that team and see it come to life is really, really rewarding. And if that can help solve a pain point for one of our clients as well, even better.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Niamh. Finance transformation is going to be substantial as we look forward. There's a long history of underinvestment in finance functions as businesses or regulatory programs got all of the investment over the last number of years in finance functions. Now, I think it's very much their time, and this is going to be. It'll have all the sort of the standard stuff like process improvement and process change, but equally this is all about a data journey for finance functions and how do they get to a position where data can be delivered in a much more timely way rather than in the days and weeks that it takes currently to deliver data. So there's massive change. It'll be data, it'll be tech, it'll be automation, all of the buzzwords which have been talked about for a long time. I think it's now got to a point where it has to happen. You've got some of the big ERPs pulling away and moving to cloud, and all of the preparation that needs to happen before that happens needs to take place now. So we can see it coming. It feels like the time is right. So we're very much looking forward to that challenge and that transformation journey that finance functions are going to go on.
There's been a lot of words that came up today that really reside in my mind. Variety, team, communications, people, entrepreneurial, innovation, and clients were words that just came up time and time again, and great to see. Look, a massive thank you to Danny, Niamh, Doreen, Ailbhe for the chat today, and thank you to all the listeners for turning in to the EY Experience podcast. We really hope you enjoy this episode. If you are interested in growing your career in CFO, make sure you go on to the Experience Hire and apply for a job. Don't forget to follow and subscribe whenever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening, and look forward to hearing from you all on our next podcast. Thanks.
The EY Experience podcast is recorded as part of the EY Ireland Podcast Network.